The furious pounding on my front door jolted me awake at 6:15 in the morning like someone was trying to break it down. I grabbed my robe, heart hammering, and stumbled downstairs. When I yanked the door open, there she stood, Evelyn Masters, president of the Willow Creek HOA in our quiet suburban Austin, Texas neighborhood. Her face was twisted in that signature mask of pure entitlement. Perfect blonde bob not moving an inch despite the early Texas breeze. Clipboard clutched in one hand and her phone already recording in the other. "Donald Reed, you have exactly 24 hours to demolish this entire house," she shrieked, shoving an official-looking notice into my chest so hard I staggered back a step. "This property is in gross violation of our newly updated aesthetic standards ordinance. That porch addition you slapped on last month doesn't match the historical theme the board approved last quarter. It's an eyesore and we have determined the whole structure must be removed to restore neighborhood compliance." I stared at her and trying to process the sheer insanity of what she just said. "Evelyn, what the actual hell? I pulled every city permit required. The HOA covenants never mentioned any historical theme until 2 weeks ago, and I sure as hell didn't get a proper vote notice. You can't just order me to tear down my home in 24 hours. She sneered, lips curling like she'd tasted something sour. "Ignorance of the rules is no excuse, Donald. The board voted unanimously. Rules are rules. If this house isn't demolished by this time tomorrow, we'll file liens, sue you for tens of thousands in daily fines, and have the city condemn the property. Don't even think about fighting it. We have lawyers on retainer, and the rest of the neighborhood is tired of your selfish little renovation projects ruining our property values." Behind her, 2 board members, old Mr. Hargrove and that nosy retiree Mrs. Delgado, nodded smugly, one of them snapping photos of my modest front porch like it was a crime scene. My blood pressure spiked. I'd busted my ass for 15 years as a contractor, saving every penny after the divorce so my 12-year-old daughter Mia and I could finally have a stable home. This place was supposed to be our fresh start, not some battleground for a power-tripping HOA dictator. I stepped forward.
"I have documented everything and
You're out of your mind, Evelyn. This isn't your kingdom. This is America. I paid good money for this house, and I followed every law that actually matters. You want to fight? You just got one." Evelyn's eyes narrowed to slits. Big words from a man who'll be homeless by tomorrow night. "I suggest you get started with the demolition crew, or we'll send one ourselves and bill you." She spun on her heel.
Memo here.
"Make sure you document everything.
The permits for Willow
Mister,
Creek are frozen.
The rules."
I need you to
I
call
slammed the door
city
behind them,
inspector first thing.
chest
I'm
heaving.
heading there now.
My
Okay,
hands shook as I read the notice again.
The
24
Homeowners
hours, full
Association
demolition or else.
Architectural Review
I grabbed my
Committee
phone
has
and hit record on a
approved
voice
plans
memo,
for the
then called my
addition,
buddy Jake,
effective
a real estate
immediately.
attorney I'd worked with
Can
on
you
job
believe
sites
it?
for years. "I'm gonna believe this crap," I said the second he picked up. I read him the letter verbatim. He whistled low. "Classic HOA overreach, Donald. But 24 hours for an entire house? That's not even legal under Texas law without a court order. They're bluffing hard. Send me the docs. I'll start drafting a response. In the meantime, record every interaction." I hung up and paced the kitchen, mind racing. Mia was still asleep upstairs, and the last thing I wanted was for her to wake up to this nightmare. I'd promised her stability after her mom walked out. Now this?
So we're
I sat down at the
officially
table
approved
and
for the
started
Willow Creek
photographing every
permits.
page of the notice,
I appreciate
noticing
your
something
help
odd
with
in the
this.
fine print, a
We'll get
reference to an
started
old
right away.
1987 master covenant I'd never seen before. Something about ground leases and common areas. I filed it away for later. By 8 o'clock the neighborhood was buzzing. I saw curtains twitching across the street. Evelyn had already posted on the HOA Facebook group calling me a disruptive element and urging everyone to protect property values. A couple of neighbors texted me support, but most stayed silent. Cowards. I spent the morning on the phone with the city planning department. The clerk confirmed my permits were solid and that the HOA had no authority to override them without due process. Small victory, but Evelyn's 24-hour clock was ticking. I stepped outside to measure the porch for Jake's records and caught Evelyn driving by slowly, glaring like I was public enemy number one. "You're going down,"
Hey, Jake.
yelled from her window.
Yeah, this is Donald.
23
Oh, wow,
hours
that's
left.
Incredible news. When do we start?
I flipped her the bird without thinking, then immediately regretted it when she started filming again. Sharp comeback or not, I needed to stay smart. I went back inside, made coffee strong enough to wake the dead, and started digging online for every HOA horror story I could find. Patterns emerged, petty tyrants like Evelyn who weaponized rules to settle personal scores. But I wasn't going down without a fight. Around noon Jake called back. "Got your docs? This notice is full of holes, but they're escalating fast. They've already threatened liens. We need to hit them with a cease and desist by end of day. In the meantime, piece of paper you have on this house purchase." I thanked him and kept working. The tension in my shoulders felt like iron bands. This wasn't just about a porch anymore. It was about whether a bully with a clipboard could destroy everything I'd built for my daughter. I wasn't about to let that happen. Little did I know, was buried in paperwork I hadn't even opened yet. By mid-afternoon, the doorbell rang again. I opened it expecting more HOA harassment, but it was my neighbor Tom from 2 doors down, looking nervous. "Donald, Evelyn's on a warpath. She's telling everyone you're trying to turn the neighborhood into a construction zone." I told her to back off, but she's got half the board whipped up. I invited him in for coffee. "Thanks. I'm fighting this legally. You can't just order a full demolition." He nodded but shifted uncomfortably. "Heard her on the phone earlier. She mentioned something about your daughter's school and family values. These people play dirty." That hit like a gut punch. Mia was innocent in all this. I thanked Tom and locked the door, then called the school just to be safe. No issues there. I spent the next 2 hours scanning every document from my closing packet. Buried in the thick folder was the original 1987 master declaration for the entire Willow Creek development. It referenced a ground lease for the common areas, the clubhouse, pool, and park that the HOA paid a nominal fee for to the original developer. The lease had a clause allowing the lessor to renegotiate terms upon transfer of interest. I stared at it, heart pounding. My uncle had been one of the original developers before he passed. When I bought the house, mentioned some residual family interest in the development trust. But I'd brushed it off as paperwork. Now it looked like I might actually hold the lease rights to the common areas. I called Jake again. "You're not gonna believe what I just found." He laughed when I explained. "Donald, if you control that lease, you control the HOA's playground. They pay peanuts now, but you could theoretically jack up the rent. It's a nuclear option, but legally sound if the documents check out. Let me verify with a title expert first. Don't tip your hand yet." The rest of the afternoon was a blur of phone calls and emails. Evelyn emailed me a formal demand letter with a countdown clock attached. 20 hours left. I replied with Jake's cease and desist draft, copying the entire board and the city. My response was polite but firm. The notice was invalid, my permits were current, and any further harassment would result in legal action for tortious interference. Evelyn's reply came fast. "Your defiance will cost you dearly, Mr. Reed. The board is meeting tonight to vote on immediate enforcement." I recorded the call when she phoned me directly an hour later. "Donald, be reasonable. Just tear down the porch and we'll forget the rest. You're embarrassing the neighborhood." Embarrassing you mean, I shot back. I'm not tearing down anything. And if you keep threatening my family, I'll make sure every homeowner knows exactly how you operate. She hung up sputtering. Sharp, satisfying, but the tension was building like a storm. Mia got home from school and I had to explain without scaring her too much. Some grown-ups are being silly about the house rules. Sweetie. She hugged me tight. I know you will. That night the HOA held an emergency meeting at the clubhouse. I showed up with Jake. Evelyn presided like a queen, slamming her gavel. Bede's unauthorized construction has devalued all our homes. We move to enforce the demolition order and assess fines. I stood up. Before you vote, let's talk about how you passed that historical theme rule without proper notice to all homeowners. And while we're at it, how many of you actually read the original master lease on the common areas? Murmurs rippled. Evelyn's face flushed red. Irrelevant. Sit down, Donald. The meeting dragged on with accusations flying. Kept my cool. Made a few board members squirm. By the time I left, 24-hour clock was still ticking in their minds. I drove home exhausted but determined. Back at the house I poured a whiskey and kept digging. The title expert Jake hired confirmed it. Through my uncle's estate, I held the reversionary interest in the common area lease. I could increase the annual rent from the current $1, $200 to whatever the market would bear, overnight if I wanted. It wouldn't touch my own house, but it would squeeze the HOA's budget hard. The board members who rented properties from me in my small investment portfolio nearby would feel it personally too. Evelyn's daughter and son-in-law leased one of my duplexes. So did 2 other board members. The pieces were falling into place. I wasn't just defending my porch anymore. I was about to flip the entire power structure. Morning of day 2 arrived with another certified letter from the HOA demanding immediate compliance or they'd start legal proceedings. I smiled for the first time in 48 hours. Jake had the lease documents notarized and ready. I sat at my kitchen table, drafted the notice myself, and signed it with a flourish, effective immediately. The annual ground rent for the common areas would increase to $48. 40 times the current rate, payable within 30 days or the lease would be terminated and the HOA would lose access to the clubhouse, pool, and park. I drove to the clubhouse, walked straight into the office, and handed the certified letter to the part-time manager. For the board, I said calmly, have a nice day. Word spread like wildfire. By lunchtime my phone was blowing up with texts from neighbors asking what was going on. I kept it simple. HOA tried to bulldoze my house. Turns out I own the land under their precious amenities. They can pay market rent or find somewhere else to host their potlucks. Evelyn showed up at my door at 2 p.m., flanked by her son-in-law who looked furious. What the hell is this, Reed? You think you can blackmail the entire neighborhood? I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Evelyn. Business. You gave me 24 hours to destroy my home. I gave your HOA 30 days to pay fair rent for land you've been using almost for free. Seems equitable to me. Her son-in-law stepped forward. My wife and I rent from you. You raise our rent and we'll sue. I smiled coldly. Lease is month to month. New rate effective next month. 20% increase across my portfolio. You can thank your mother-in-law for inspiring the policy change. Rules are rules, right? Evelyn's face went purple. You're ruining lives. People have families. Funny, I said, voice steady. I have a daughter too. You were ready to put us on the street over a porch. Now you're crying foul when the shoe's on the other foot? Neighbors started gathering on the sidewalk, whispering. Tom gave me a thumbs up from across the street. Evelyn tried to rally them, but the tide was turning. One older homeowner spoke up. Evelyn, You've been throwing your weight around for years. Maybe it's time we all saw these lease papers. The confrontation escalated when Evelyn lunged for my phone, trying to knock it out of my hand while I recorded. I stepped back. Assault on camera, Evelyn. Nice. She sputtered and retreated, but not before hissing, "This isn't over." It wasn't. That evening the board called another emergency meeting. I attended with Jake and a title attorney. I projected the lease documents on the wall for everyone to see. Gasps filled the room. Evelyn tried to shout me down, claiming forgery, but the attorney calmly explained the chain of title. 2 board members who rented from me looked like they'd swallowed lemons. The vote to rescind the demolition order passed narrowly, but Evelyn refused to back down on the fines. "We'll fight this in court," she yelled. I stood slowly. "Go ahead."
It's perfect,
Meanwhile,
sweetie.
your clubhouse keys stop working next month if that rent isn't paid. And your family's rent goes up too. Your move. The room erupted. For the first time, the next 48 hours were pure chaos. Evelyn launched a smear campaign on the HOA app, calling me a slumlord and vindictive opportunist. Some residents bought it, most didn't. My inbox filled with messages from homeowners thanking me for exposing the overreach. Mia even got teased at school, but she came home proud, saying you're a hero for standing up to Mrs. Masters. I kept the pressure on. I sent polite but firm reminders about the new rent due date and started eviction proceedings on the 2 board member tenants who'd been late even before this mess. Evelyn's daughter called me crying, begging for mercy. I reminded her that her mother had shown none to me or Mia. Jake filed a lawsuit against the HOA for abuse of process and tortious interference. Discovery requests went out. And that's when the real plot twist landed. Buried in old financials was evidence that Evelyn had been siphoning HOA funds for personal vacations and board expenses that looked a lot like shopping sprees. My attorney uncovered it during routine record requests. I brought the evidence to the next open board meeting, packed this time with every homeowner who could fit. I projected the suspicious transactions on the screen. Silence fell, then angry murmurs turned to shouts. Evelyn tried to spin it. Those were legitimate. You're twisting everything. A long-time resident stood up. Evelyn, you threatened to destroy a man's home over a porch while skimming our dues? Resign. Now. The vote was unanimous. Evelyn was removed as president effective immediately. The new board, elected on the spot from volunteers, voted to drop all action against me, waive any fines and negotiate a reasonable long-term lease on the common areas. I agreed to drop the massive increase in exchange for reformed bylaws that required proper notice and homeowner votes on major changes. But Evelyn wasn't done. She showed up at my house one last time, alone. From crying or rage, I couldn't tell. You think you won?
This quiet neighborhood is proof of that.
My family is suffering because of your revenge. I looked her dead in the eye. No. You did that when you decided one man's porch was worth destroying his life. I just held up a mirror. Maybe next time you'll think twice before playing God with other people's homes. She left without another word, shoulders slumped. For the first time in weeks, the porch stayed. And the power balance had shifted permanently. 2 weeks later, the new board and I sat down for coffee at the now neutral clubhouse. We hammered out a fair lease that kept amenities affordable while giving the HOA skin in the game. I lowered rents for all my tenants, including Evelyn's family, back to market rates with a warning: treat people right or the deal changes. Word spread, and the neighborhood started healing. Barbecues resumed. Kids played in the park again without fear of clipboard patrols. Mia and I sat on that same porch one evening watching the sunset. "Dad, did you really beat the mean lady?" she asked, swinging her legs. I smiled. "We both did, kiddo. Sometimes the bullies only understand consequences." Across the street, Tom raised a beer in salute. Even a few former Evelyn loyalists waved. The experience taught me, and the whole street, that power without accountability corrupts. But standing up with facts and calm resolve can restore balance. Overreaching authority hurts everyone, including the ones wielding it. Real community comes from mutual respect, not fear. Evelyn moved to a different subdivision a month later. Last I heard, she tried the same tactics there and lasted 3 weeks. Karma has a way of circling back. I never set out to become the neighborhood hero. I just wanted to keep the roof over my daughter's head. But in the process, scream loudest about rules are often the ones who break them when it suits them. Standing firm isn't revenge, it's justice. And if there's one lesson this whole mess drove home, it's this: never underestimate a quiet man pushed too far. When someone tries to destroy everything you've built, is it wrong to use every legal tool at your disposal to protect it, even if it means turning their own tactics against them?